You recently finished watching the mid-season two-parter, the mid-season kind of finale, which is I think Resurgence and Deliverance in Stargate Universe season two. And so we're going to talk about that. Um, Before we kind of get into some of the details, I kind of thought I would like to ask you what you felt about this as a two-parter, a mid-season two-parter, because thinking back on some of the previous ones, um, I mean, for example, some that kind of stick out in my head is in the very beginning, I think the SOCAR episodes were one of the first sort of uh, mid-season two-parters. There were episodes with like gold alliances. Um, the the one in Atlantis, I think season three with the replicators was also a mid-season two-parter. So a lot of times the mid-season two-parters like introduce kind of a new element, like because thinking back to like when this happened with the SOCAR, it sort of rebirthed Apophis.
Hmm.
And I think this one kind of also introduced a new element. But yeah, how did you feel about it overall? Like as an episode
Uh,
and as a two-parter? Yeah.
yeah. Um, I think definitely it's funny because because of how I watched this initially I wasn't really thinking about whether it was a two-parter or not. I was just kind of continuing onward to watch the next episode. And I think when I had mentioned to you, like, hey, should we talk about this? Then you're like, oh, I think that's a two-parter. And I was just like, oh, yeah, I guess it is. But I think because of how Universe tends to kind of keep flowing with all the episodes kind of all being combined in some way compared to like SG1 sometimes. Um, I didn't at first really think about it, but I like that this was a two-parter actually because I feel like it was really necessary to kind of really kind of dive into what was happening. And it also allows like some interesting things with Chloe and um just everything that was going on. I think it was probably necessary for it to be a two-parter because if they tried to kind of pack all that into one episode, I think it wouldn't have maybe um I probably wouldn't have liked it as much, but I did like it. I liked both of the episodes. I'm trying to remember if Universe in season one, did they have a mid-season two-parter there too, or no?
Yes, I believe so. Let me check. So I'm not sure if it was necessarily like a two-parter in the traditional sense. It seems to be linked, but you know what I have a really difficult time with in universe of tracking, like, is that sometimes it does seem that there are stories that are more contained within two
Yeah,
episodes, but at the same time, every episode almost kind of ends on a cliffhanger. It's just the
yeah,
two-parter, maybe it's like a slightly bigger cliffhanger.
yeah,
So it's like, whereas in, SG1, I think, like, let's take, for example, the Tok'ra that's in season two. It clearly ends in a very different, unresolved way at the end of the first Tok'ra episode. Um, and then it resolves in the second one. But yet the episode before it was resolved, and the episode after it was resolved. Whereas in Universe, I find that almost like it's more like those shows where at the end, it kind of gives you something that makes you want to watch the next episode, even if
yeah.
the story itself is resolved. And I think so. I think that kind of like, whereas in SG1, a two-parter difference, it's like this is the two-parter, and then this is like a regular episode. I think in Universe, it kind of goes like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like, yeah, it's just like the format of how they choose to do those episodes that everything kind of flows together, that
Yeah.
it's just kind of like really hard to, especially, I mean, maybe I'll feel different once I do a rewatch of it at some point, because even though this is technically a rewatch of me for Universe, it was so long ago, I don't remember any of it. So it feels like just watching it for the first time. So, um, probably maybe I'll notice different things than through the rewatch. But for now, not having watched it often, um it does all kind of blur together. and like the storylines too, it's kind of like I don't feel like there's most of the time there's not like always a clear ending to certain
Yep.
storylines too. Um, I mean, obviously there are things like if there's deaths and things like that, then that's a clear ending, usually for like that character, and then it kind of switches to something else. So like when Amanda Perry died and Gin or Jin, I think it's
Hmm.
Gin.
Yeah.
Um, that was a clear ending to that, and then a clear ending to what was his name, Simeon. So that kind of like stopped that, but I kind of wonder it didn't end the Lucian Alliance, right? So then there's
No.
still things going on with that. So it's kind of like um yeah, it's very free flowing, but I like that about Universe. And yeah, I really liked these two episodes. Um so so yeah, I don't know what you necessarily want to talk first with some of these if you had any thoughts before we kind of dive into it, but
I mean, is there anything, because I have a sort of things that I think are more plot related, and then there's also some things kind of going on because I guess in universe there's always this sort of aspect of plot, and then there's always these like interpersonal things going on in the background. So I mean, there's
Mhm.
probably both of those things to touch on in this. But was there anything that kind of stuck out to you that you felt like, oh yeah, I need to talk about this?
Oh, um I mean, all the episodes were so intense. It's kind of hard to necessarily pick something. I think the one thing that did stand out, and not necessarily the reason why I wanted to talk about the episodes, but something that did stand out was how involved Chloe was.
Hmm.
And so I liked how in the first episode, so that was Resurgence, I liked how kind of near the end of that, that's when Chloe kind of, the alien part of her kind of, takes control in a sense and knocks out the guy to then go
Hmm.
do something where they're basically, giving away their location to the aliens. Uh, was it the aliens that had taken her? Or was it the other ones? Anyways, I can't fully remember, but she'd given away their location basically
Yes.
at the tail end of that
Yeah,
episode.
to the Nakai.
But
Yeah, she gave it to the ones that took
yeah,
her.
and I know that's kind of jumping ahead to the end of that episode, but I like how it was actually having something happen with her besides just being stuck in a room the whole time. Like I felt like for a long time it was a bit of her being stuck in a room. They know something's up. They know like they don't know how long she can stay there. And
Yep.
at this point for her character, it's kind of reaching this like peak point of like they're not going to be able to keep her on the ship any longer because they can't trust her. And so I liked that was finally kind of coming up to the surface. Um and then I do like I found it kind of interesting actually with the what's it called, the little like the drone attack stuff, like
Hmm.
I thought that was kind of unexpected, actually. I know I should have expected it probably. Like I knew something was going to happen, but it was unexpected to me that it was going to be like drones that were like just kind of chilling there when they found what they
Yeah.
thought was like a graveyard of like another ship that had been destroyed, and it had been this massive battle. And then to have those like go back into action and basically go after them, right? Oh, and I guess a big thing with the first one, oh my God, how could I forget, is Telford.
Yeah, Telford came back. That was a surprise,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that was definitely a surprise. And I like that they had him come back because I think way back in one of our other podcast episodes, I was saying to you, whatever happened to him? Because
Hmm.
they tried to insinuate as if he had died, but they
Yeah.
didn't show that he died. And I remember us talking about that and saying, oh, I wonder if he'll come back. And so that brought in the whole storyline of, and let's see if I say it correctly, Ursini?
The Orsini,
the
yeah.
Cine. Yeah, and those are the aliens that he met, right? In that
Yep.
ship that then we didn't know what happened to him. So we finally kind of get an answer to that storyline to know what happened to him. And they weren't actually like they, they were just taking knowledge, right? I believe they were and teaching him things, I think. And so that was actually really interesting to then pull in that alien race and then bring him back. And then he kind of comes back right in time to try and help them.
Yeah. I mean, I was happy that they introduced another like alien race or entity or something
Hmm.
because I feel like, I mean, I know the Nakai are there, but they're not as present. And I think because they don't, like in other Stargates, they actually often had the aliens able to interact in a different way, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like they were kind of speaking with them, they were interacting with them. There was a lot more like presence, so to speak. And I mean,
Yeah.
in this way, there's sort of like always this presence because, of course, Chloe is affected. And so since they've kind of met them, there's been this sort of underlying presence. But in terms of them interacting with them, they haven't really interacted with them. Like, and I feel
Yeah.
like one part of me does say, like, that's one thing I do miss a little bit in SGU is that some real actual interaction with them, but
Yeah.
maybe they felt like, well, we did that already in two other like series. Maybe we need to kind of move in a different direction. I do think it's cool that they introduced something new, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, especially because Telford, I feel like a lot of things in SGU, even if they like I mean, I don't know how much was written in advance, but I feel like even minor things, they kind of have demonstrated that they don't just happen like in a vacuum. So, I mean,
Yeah.
even Chloe getting abducted could have just been a storyline, but it actually was something that had consequences for a long time. And so I do feel like the fact that Telford was with them will, lead to something, if that makes sense, like
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
like later on. So,
Yeah, that's a good point. They don't just kind of gloss over it and have it that it doesn't affect things
yeah.
because like they kind of do that a little bit at times with SG1 and Atlantis, I think, when things happen, just because it's a different format of how
Hmm.
how everything shows and a different vibe. But like, kind of like if you think about when Carter, had the Tok'ra, right? When, what was the name of
Joel and
Jo
I.
yeah. Um, After that, she was affected by the memories, right? And I think like she also had like the ability to use certain like devices, like the hand device and stuff. But then shortly after that, all of that kind of went down, like then it's just almost forgotten about in a
Yeah.
sense, from what I can remember.
I mean, I think
And
it's
yeah,
interesting because if I remember right, that whole like I can't remember. Somebody will have to refresh me, but I remember seeing or reading something where actually the whole Jolinar thing was not supposed to happen that way, and there was something that was changed that actually led to that. And then as a result, like I think it's sort of those things that she could do as from having the symbiote were like kind of added, like so I don't think they knew at the time that it was going to have all these impacts. And it
oh
did. And
yeah,
it was, I think that's kind of cool. I mean, especially because, it was different people writing, the episodes. So maybe one wrote it and went, oh, well, she had a Tok'ra. Maybe she can use a hand device. And so
yeah,
I think, I mean, that's kind of really cool. And I wonder if those types of things kind of led them to think then, deeper about things. Because of course, television was so different in 1998. Like
yeah,
you wouldn't think, oh, this thing has to affect something, but you could think, oh, this happened. This could be used as a plot device.
yeah,
But I think now it's like everything is much more carefully thought out in this
yeah.
era. And so I do think things are like very intentionally interconnected. But maybe they're not. Maybe it's also accidental. It'd be interesting to hear
Yeah.
from the writers what actually is the case.
Yeah. And it made me think, and sorry, I won't go too far away from what we're talking about, but it made me think like with the new series, like how like detail oriented are they gonna have to be with everything because they're only getting 10 episodes. So,
True.
that will be interesting to kind of see how they approach all of that compared, because like with this, we're talking about a mid-season two-parter that by that point, what episode was that? That was
10 and
episode
11, I
10
think.
and
Yeah.
11. Yeah. And so, that will be the end of a season for them now at
Hmm.
10. So, unless they get the chance, I have noticed some shows have started to do like maybe like 12, 16, 18, things like that. Like some shows I watch will do that. And sometimes when they first start, they don't always do that. And so each season, sometimes the episode count is a little bit less or more. So I'm wondering if
That's cool.
if there'll be leeway for that, which would be cool if they got the chance to maybe make a little bit more than 10. Um, but yeah, that's kind of uh going off topic a little bit. But yeah, so yeah, with Telford coming back, that was certainly a big deal. And then with this one, it basically kind of ends on this first episode, right? Where it's just kind of like they're being attacked from everywhere and fighting to survive kind of thing. Um, so then when you get to the second one, which is Deliverance, that's where then they're trying to basically figure out what to do because their shields are down and they don't know how they're going to survive everything and they're trying to fix things. Um, was there anything about this second episode that kind of stood out to you that you feel is important to talk about first?
I mean, stood out. I don't know. I think like overall, I mean, I thought it was good that they kind of brought this sort of full circleness of, Chloe getting kidnapped and then having the disease and then eventually summoning the Nakai and then that actually being the thing that leads to them kind of
Mm-hmm.
getting out of this in a way. And then also her getting, somewhat cured. Um, but I guess at the end she still says she has some things. So maybe she's like cured now and has some abilities. So I thought that aspect was kind of cool that they went full
Yeah.
circle in that regard. Um, but I'm trying to think if there's anything other than that that really kind of, I think it was probably mostly that I was thinking of in terms of it being kind of integral to the storyline. Of course, if you
Yeah.
mention something, I'll be like, oh yeah, that too.
Yeah.
But I thought it was kind of cool to bring all of that full circle and that they kind of connected the two like beings that they have encountered in this and also somehow connected with the Lucian Alliance plot because Telford came back. So I did appreciate that. And I thought it was interesting because this two episodes kind of completely deviated from kind of what was going on before, like in terms of this sort of like little plots that were building up, and then they kind of deviated a little
Yeah.
bit. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure some things come back and then some
Yeah.
things go in a different direction, but yeah.
Which I think was well placed that
Yeah.
it, kind of went in a different direction because if you think about it in terms of like the chaos they're going through and then suddenly, they're being attacked. Like that would take you out of anything that's going on. And that's what you have to focus on. So, in a sense, as viewers, it's kind of forcing us to forget about everything that just happened for a second and just
Yep.
kind of be like, okay, oh my gosh, what are they going to do? Like, how are they going to survive this? Like, clearly they're going to survive because there's more episodes, but like, how are they going to survive, or what's going to happen or what's going to happen to Chloe? So, it kind of brings back the Chloe element a little bit more.
Hmm.
And then what I also like about the second one is it seems like they kind of bring in side characters a little bit more.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm
That's true.
terrible with names, so I don't always remember what they're called, but like the two scientists, the one guy has darker hair and the other guy has like kind of like curly-ish lighter hair.
Hmm.
I don't know their names. Um, but they were having to work on a part of the ship, and it was really important for them to get that working so they can try and get the shield working. And then um, they had, I think her last name is Park.
Hmm.
Um, they had her go with them on to get the other drone in order to do like Eli's plan of seeing if they could like study it to see how to use that to help them. And that ended up being a tool of helping them in the end. But normally they didn't have her wear a spacesuit and go with them. So that was different. And then also when they were having to fight off all the drones and everything, um, the lady, again, don't remember her name, dark hair and used to sleep with Scott. What's her name? In the beginning she was like she had like a situationship with
James,
him.
Lieutenant
Yeah.
James. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
She was helping at the computer, I think, in a
Hmm.
way that she didn't normally help. So I thought it was interesting how they were kind of making people almost do roles that weren't necessarily comfortable to them as that character. Um, and so I liked that about this episode.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a really
yeah,
good point, especially after like so many episodes where there was such a strong focus on some very specific characters. Like if you
yeah,
think about it, like some characters really definitely had a spotlight, and um, so that's kind of cool about this one. Um, I mean, the other thing I want to ask you about is what do you think about TJ and Varro? Because in this episode,
yeah.
they kind of got more like, and this is something I think about for some reason. It's like, what do you think about this relationship?
Yeah, and he's the guy from the Lucian Alliance,
Hmm.
right? Um, I always got a vibe from those two, so I wasn't surprised by it, that they're showing an interest in each other, but at the same time, I feel it's really screwed up because didn't he try and kill her at some point?
I well was okay. I can't
Like,
remember.
because remember when she was
Yeah.
pregnant and she got shot, and it was like that's where she lost her baby.
Hmm.
Like he was part of the reason for that,
Yeah.
I believe. And so for her to take that trauma where she lost her baby and then somehow be friends with this guy and clearly potentially be interested in him and he's interested in her. I find
Yeah.
that so screwed up. Like it's like someone taking like if someone was kidnapped and they suddenly have an attraction towards their captor, it's
Yeah,
kind
like
of weird to
Stockholm
me. and
syndrome.
and I could be wrong that he was involved in her being shot, but so yeah, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I thought he was one of the reasons why she got shot.
Hang on, I was looking it up. I was looking it up. Um, so I don't, okay, it says he was shot in the initial confrontation, and Kiva ordered, oh, he was the one that she was ordered to help. So um, maybe what happened, yeah, that's right. It says, so he was shot, and then she ordered, another Aleutian Alliance person ordered the military personnel brought to them. And then someone grabbed an Alliance soldier's gun and sprayed the room with machine gun fire. And Varro and another one was unharmed, but TJ was hit. And Varro subdued the officer. So how do I not remember
Okay.
like all this? I don't remember this. Like, I guess it's one of those things. There's just so much going on. Like you said, as a rewatch, I would probably, but when you're watching it, when you're involved, you kind of don't really perceive everything. I think because you're so caught up
Yeah.
in, oh my God, what's going to happen, that you
Yeah.
don't really. But yeah, so, but I guess indirectly she was shot because of him, because she was ordered to help him.
Yeah. And I do
So
remember him just being very forceful with her
yeah,
initially. I mean,
yeah,
obviously that changed once a whole ton of stuff went down, so maybe that's why feelings, changed because then they grew to like each other. But yeah, I'm unsure. Like I find it makes sense to me because I feel like there was a vibe from with the two of them, but at the same time, if I actually think about what led him to be there and what led the two of them to be together on this ship, it just gives me a little bit of an ick vibe because I'm just like, you don't want to forget, like, how he got there and what he's
yeah.
actually done. Like, he's not innocent in all of this. Like,
No,
he
no.
killed people and, or caused people to be killed. So, you know, it's weird to me. But I mean, how
Yeah.
do you feel about it?
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I thought it was interesting that they started really pushing more screen time of this. And I'm kind of curious. like I'm also more curious from the perspective of like what will Young how like will it impact anything with Young? Like will there be any kind of weird um infighting or tension or something?
I would imagine
Yeah,
so because Young kind of irritates me in the sense that I feel like he acts very possessive of her, but then
totally.
he
Yeah.
wants nothing to do with her at the same
Yep.
time. And so he chooses when he wants to have comfort from her and when he just wants to toss her aside. And so Young, to me, he just drives me crazy with that kind of stuff because he doesn't deserve her. And I mean, I know like it was sketchy on her part too, where she was cheating with him on his wife, but um I just feel like Young has a lack of sensitivity towards what she's experienced and just almost ignores it. And many times she's tried to express to him how he doesn't understand what she's been through.
Yep.
When she was feeling like her baby was still alive and on that other planet. And then when those people came, back, how like they didn't have her baby with them. And so it was like heartbreaking to her to not have her baby there because she really thought that that was the case.
Yep.
And his lack of being able to show her any kind of empathy with that was just gross in my opinion. Like I just feel he kind of picks and chooses when he wants comfort, which is usually not too often. He's usually just like stressed and mad.
Yeah.
What rightfully so, but yeah, and then when she was pregnant, he was very controlling of everything that she did. So I just yeah,
Yeah,
he
even though like he
just
kind of had no right to be. So
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
but yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, I think it's weird because I think like there's so much, it's like kind of like the vibe I got off of Scott and Chloe that there's so much trauma on each of their parts that it kind of makes it a
yeah,
little bit weird and toxic.
yeah,
So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of pans out and what that pans out into. I mean, it's also weird because like when you think about it, Eli was also with someone that was kind of ex-Lucian Alliance or Lucian Alliance or whatever. And I honestly thought,
true.
I have to say, like at the very beginning when Eli was dating her, I totally thought she was going to turn out to be like manipulating him or bad or something.
That's what I thought too. Yeah, I thought that too. One thing I also really liked, I don't know if you thought about this, but like when Scott brought Chloe to the alien race that had initially abducted her, right? Um, to kind of trade her off for them to, I think, was it the alien race that abducted her that she
It
got brought
was,
back
it
to?
was. Because she
Yeah,
summoned them, right? And then I think they were going to take her back or whatever. And then,
yeah. And so for them to like help her by like taking the information she has, and then in turn it would help her, and then they would get help with the information or something like that. Um, I liked the shot of when the aliens, like when they boarded onto the alien ship and Scott was with her and he was kind of like, you know, confiding in her that he basically felt that he let things affect his judgment of her and things like that. And then when the aliens are finally there to take her away, they show a shot of him and her holding hands, I think, facing towards the aliens. And what it reminded me of is like if you go back to when Scott had that weird hallucination type episode where he was dreaming that, or not dreaming, but because of what had happened to him, he thought that he was marrying Chloe.
Mhm.
And it was almost like it brought me back to that episode because it was like a similar shot of showing the two of them together. And so I thought that was like weirdly impactful because it kind of brought back their bond. And then he was having to set her off to these aliens, not knowing what was going to happen, if she was going to come back or not. And so it kind of almost was like this weird, like, thing that helps the viewer kind of put that connection back in your mind
Yeah,
and
it
think
anchors
about
it,
that.
right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so cool. Yeah, I didn't catch that, but that's a good observation. Yeah, I did not catch
Yeah.
that. I mean,
And did you expect her to come back?
I feel like yes. I mean, I can't think about whether I thought she was going to be gone, but I think because she's a like a main character, I either figured she would come back or worst case she would be gone for a couple episodes.
Mm.
But I don't think when she went, I don't think I thought, oh, she's gone for good.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
I
did
could,
you?
because of me seeing Universe before, and even though I don't remember anything, there's something very specific with her that I do remember. So I knew she was gonna be back, but for some reason I didn't expect her to be back after being taken by them. Like I thought something was gonna happen. So I was
Okay.
actually quite surprised um that she was back like right away. Like I expected like something else to happen, but I think they're being a lot more um like secretive about it all still.
Yeah,
It's like you yeah,
I mean, I get the vibe that she's not okay yet. Like I
yeah,
do get some kind of vibe that something is up.
yeah,
So, like, and I mean, when even that she still has some ability, it kind of gives a weird vibe. Um, so, I mean, I also like, I wouldn't have been surprised if she was gone an episode or two, like, and came
yeah.
back, like as an alien or something, like completely transformed. That also wouldn't have surprised me. Um,
Yeah. Do you think she should have told Rush? Do you think like it was smart for her to tell Rush that she still could do the equations? Because I kind of feel
Oh.
like that was like I feel like I feel like that I don't know how I feel about it actually, because I feel like he's the kind of person that it's this strange thing where, like we've said before, it's created this unique bond between him and Chloe that normally wouldn't be there.
Hmm.
But then he was the first person to basically say to toss her back to the aliens because that was the only option. And he didn't really care what
Hmm.
happened to her necessarily. But at the same time, like the the IOA lady, like she almost insinuated in a scene with Rush that he actually was caring about Chloe, and that's why he was doing that, was
Uh-huh.
because he was trying to help Chloe. But with me, with Rush, I'm always just like, is he really trying to help Chloe? Or is there some grand plan for something else that he's still trying to receive the information and he figures that will help him with that? So I'm never fully convinced that he's trying to help anyone but himself. And like the scene with him and Chloe, it was like near the end, I think, of
Hmm.
this second
Yeah.
episode. They kind of make you feel like Rush is trying to indicate that he's changing now as like how he used to view things and how he's a very science minded person that doesn't believe in like a certain faith or anything like that. um and they basically indicated that he was believing that all of those things were happening for a reason, for things to be able to happen. So if they hadn't been abducted, they
Hmm.
never would have reached the point where they would have been able to save their ship from being shot to bits basically by what currently happened with like the drones and everything. So he was feeling like that was all meant to be. And then he was acting like he's changed too. And so she's kind of confiding in him, and he's almost trying to send comfort her way, making it seem like, oh, it's just that you're remembering information. That's a good thing. But I kind of wonder if he's gonna then turn on her. Um, because she does still have this and maybe could still be a risk. And I know you
My,
can't say too much because you've
yeah.
seen past this, but
But I think overall in general, like, I mean, I haven't seen that further past this. Like, I think it's not actually so further past this.
oh, okay.
Um, I don't think he's gonna change. But I'm kind of on I don't really think Rush is like, yeah, how I feel about his motivations. I mean, it's not so much like he doesn't care about Chloe or like he doesn't care about, I think it's more like there's this bigger picture. And so sometimes
Yeah.
I think he has information that he doesn't divulge because other people lose sight of the bigger picture and they focus on the details. And I think he knows that.
Yeah.
I think he perceives that, if I say something, the people are going to focus on this, and then the thing that needs to be done can't be done. And so I feel like it is possible that he knew and was completely well aware that if he, gave Chloe up, that she would just be cured and brought back. Especially
Hmm.
because he's been with these aliens. He might know. I mean, we don't know. I think we could
Yeah.
find out that he knows more than he lets on. This is not an uncommon thing with him. But I could also see that there's 100 people on the ship versus one, and that he went, well, it's one person, and we need to survive, and
Yeah.
she's gonna die anyways, so or whatever,
Yeah.
she's gonna turn anyways. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a tough thing. Like, it's a very, I think it is bringing up a lot of interesting moral issues that like now I want to like go back and watch again because when you're watching it with the story unfolding, you don't kind of always think about the morality of things. And I think the morality of Rush will be very different from a lens of someone who's completed the series. Um,
Yeah. That would be a really good thing to talk about when we get back to rewatch
yes,
a universe. Yeah.
yeah, because I would be curious. It's funny because in the very like beginning, I don't know, like Rush was kind of made out to be kind of a jerk, but I
Yeah.
always had this like, I think he's okay. But I don't know, it's kind of like Greer. Like the ones that are kind of made out to be a little bit more jerky, I usually feel like they're they're more okay underneath, whereas the ones that often like come off as super nice are like less okay underneath.
Yeah. I mean, I think the one that does so many questionable things actually is Young.
Yeah, he does the most. I think like in terms of
Yeah.
morality, he has the most questionable decisions because it's on multiple levels. And I
Yeah.
think the motivation behind them is not always like, I would say this about Rush. I think whatever he is doing, there is a motivation that he has that I think he really believes he's doing it for some good thing. That doesn't make it right, like depending what he does. Obviously, like people have done really awful things for things they felt like were good motivations, and they're definitely awful things. Um, but I think his again, we should do like a D&D character alignment chart. That would be fun. Of all the SGU. I think that would be a really good idea because I'm thinking like chaotic evil versus lawful evil, and then, chaotic good. Like Eli might be chaotic good. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that'd be cool. There was something I wanted to actually bring up, but if you'd more to say about what we were talking about, you
No,
can
no, no.
mention
Bring it
that
up.
first.
Bring it up. Bring it
Oh,
up.
okay. One thing I noticed, and I'm not sure if we're able to actually take a clip of this maybe and share it. I don't know how that works with like copyright. Um, but I think this is the correct scene I'm remembering it from, is in the music score. I just thought it was just like a side note, like I thought it was interesting. Um, was when they bring in the drone
Hmm.
and they want to like look into that to see if it can help them in some way. I felt like I was kind of surprised actually that they went into like this full like very like thematic like music just for that drone. And like
Oh,
and I don't know if it was just that my awareness was suddenly there that I just really noticed the music for some reason, or if it was done like that on purpose to just like show the importance of this or what it was. But for some reason I was just like, oh, I'm surprised. Like it's like so much like musically that was going on um that I was actually kind of surprised by it, if that makes sense. Like I really liked the music, but it did like suddenly become very noticeable to me. So
mhm.
I imagine there was a reason for that.
That's it, we got it. Repressurize. Now slowly reinstate artificial gravity.
I have to say, I feel like the sound design and music in Universe is very intentional because
Hmm.
it's very, very, very well done and very
Hmm.
crafted. I would have to check the exact moment that you're talking about. But I feel like overall, I do notice that they're using extremely effectively the use or lack of use or like more prominent music and also sound as well. Just like
Yeah.
some of the sound design is super helpful in creating the atmosphere
Yeah.
because I almost feel like, and I don't know if you feel this as well, because it's like taking part inside this ship where like overall visually the show hasn't really had a lot of diversity. It kind of,
Hmm.
I think that kind of it becomes more important that the sound and stuff is kind of. more a character, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I think too, like, yeah, even just with the music, I think um I'd be interested because like sometimes I've worked on projects where like I have to create more of an atmospheric kind of vibe that I have used like sound design type things within the music. So it's like
Hmm.
part of the music that I create. And so I'm curious if when they were composing for it, if it is all like sound designer and composer, or if the composer also
Yeah.
combined certain types of sounds that would be sometimes used within sound design, but incorporate that into their composition itself. Because I know I've done that before, that sometimes it can kind of be maybe confused thinking that the sound designer created it. So I'd be curious to actually know like
Hmm.
what's within the actual composition itself and just the sound design, because you're right, it is it like yeah, like the sound design and the music are the character of the ship. So that's like a really good point that you brought up there that I wouldn't have fully thought
Yeah.
about. Um
Well,
yeah.
I didn't really think about it until now, but it like made me think that's true. Like overall, there's not much visual contrast. Whereas in the other, I mean, not that the music wasn't important in the other Stargates, but it was much more used for like thematic reference and emotion and like overall, like if something is foreboding, they made it feel like more foreboding. But I do feel it is a little bit more establishment of atmosphere and setting in universe. And maybe that's just because there's not as much visual contrast to provide that difference because everything, I mean, I have to say, video games of this era were like this. Like there
Mm,
were a lot of video games like Gears of War or something where they come out and it's very like everything is very gray. Like there were so many post-apocalyptic games. Like
yeah.
honestly, like think about this, like the first like high definition video games were all very, very muted in color. And I mean, I guess part of that is because maybe you can use less contrast, you can use less color contrast because with high definition, you can distinguish between objects without much color contrast or something.
Hmm.
Um, but it is interesting because, yeah, in those cases, there was a lot more in that generation, especially for the immersion, there was a lot more focus on sound effects and kind of creating an environment. And I kind of have a very, very similar visual vibe on Universe
Yeah.
because it's kind of very monochrome in a way, like the visuals.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just like, yeah, it was just something that I had noticed. I'm pretty sure it's the scene, and I could be wrong. And I'm hoping maybe we can see if we
Hmm.
can add a clip of it
Yeah,
to
yeah,
our
we can do that.
podcast. But I think it, and if it's not this scene, I'll put the scene in that it was. But I'm pretty sure it was a scene where they were trying to get the drone, and then the drone goes into their ship. And it's like, as that's happening, it's like this very big music that I didn't necessarily expect, because I think that's kind of interesting, like from a composing like standpoint too, because like you could score that scene so many different ways and get different
Totally.
feelings from it. And so
Totally.
it's like, for example, if it was, just very quiet tones that were almost barely noticeable, that could have also brought an element of anxiety because you're waiting to see, are they going to get to do what they can do? But they purposely chose to have it be like big, which I like. I think it sounds really nice, but like I'm curious, like, yeah, I'm curious, like, what you'll think of it like once like you re-see that scene,
Hmm.
because it was just something that stood out to me in that episode that like I didn't really, I'm not always fully paying attention to the music, right? Because that's like the point, with some of these,
Hmm.
you're not supposed to be paying attention to the music. It will just add to it. So with that, it kind of stood out to me. Um,
No, that's interesting. No, I didn't think about it, but nice observation. I'll have to
yeah.
check that out. Yeah, but no,
um,
it's amazing the music and sound design and how they establish things in universe. I think is
yeah,
very well done.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think in general, my my overall impression of this episodes is it was an interesting sort of step away from what has kind of
yeah,
been going on for the rest of the season, but yet not really a step away because it brought back in a way so many things, but it kind of moved away from some of the central storylines that had kind of been permeating for a few episodes.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that. But it's interesting because I would say, like, as a season two parter, it didn't quite feel so climactic, but I don't think it
Mm.
was supposed to be.
Ah, yeah. I think there's always so much chaos going on in the universe series that it's kind of like there's always that like feeling of chaos, even when there's
Yeah.
not too much going on. That I think yeah, I mean at the same time though, I think at the end of that first episode, it
I mean,
felt very,
it was a,
very like dire, right?
yeah, it was a big cliffhanger, but I think somehow, like, because overall the show ends in a some kind of cliffhanger, it just kind of felt like it was a slightly bigger cliffhanger than others.
Yeah.
I'm sure I would have felt differently if I was watching it in real time
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
couldn't just pop on the next one. But I think it's interesting because I imagine now with most series, they actually don't do these kind of mid-season things. And it's just like continuous every episode. There's like a cliffhanger, so you keep watching the next one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, some of the shows that I watch, like I have noticed like on Disney Plus, for example, they have shows where they'll release it. It might be like a show that's like on, I don't know, like Hulu or something, but they release it on Disney Plus. And what they'll do is they'll have a new episode come out weekly, even though like the whole season's technically available. So like if you are streaming through Disney Plus, like maybe every Wednesday an episode will come out, or they'll do a batch of episodes every so often. So it kind of makes it that people can't just like binge watch all of them. And what I find interesting is there's been a few times with some shows that I watch where I think, oh, is that the end? Is that like the season finale? And then we have to wait to see if they're going to be renewed for another season. And then I'll find out, oh, there's still like that's just midway through. There's still like a way to go. So I think with some shows they've started to kind of get back to having a little bit more than 10 episodes and also doing a little bit of a cliffhanger, not fully, like sometimes.
Mhm.
Like the show I'm thinking of is a show called High Potential that I
Okay.
watch. And sometimes that's been the case where I thought, oh darn, I'm done with the season. Like, and then I realized there's still more episodes to go. It's just that
Hmm.
that was kind of like their mid-season
Yeah.
cliffhanger kind of thing. So some of
Okay.
them have slowly gotten back to that a little bit, but not
Interesting.
quite to
Interesting.
the extreme of what
Yeah.
it used to be, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, when you
but
think like
yeah,
in the earlier seasons of Stargate, this the cliffhangers were like actually really quite crazy when you think about what the episodes surrounding them were.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess like what questions can we ask people that are viewing us if they've made it to this point of the video that they could put in the comments about these two episodes?
yeah, I mean, how did you feel about the new aliens that they met? What would you have kind of like, what do you want to experience from this new entity that kind of entered the show? Like, do you want to see them again? Do you think they'll play a bigger role? That kind of thing. How do you feel
Yeah.
about some of the interpersonal things that are emerging?
Yeah, do you like that Telford is back
Mm-hmm.
and that Chloe has apparently been helped? I'll say
Mm-hmm.
that loosely.
Yeah.
Helped. Um, yeah, that'd be interesting to hear for sure.